Welcome to a brand new season, season 2 actually, of Face Off, the high school lacrosse show here in the state of Michigan. My name's Lauren Plant. Joining the program shortly will be Sean Baligian and the coach, Greg Durham. But first, State Champs Face Off is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Did you know there are over 24 NAIA Division II level varsity sports offered at Lawrence Tech? This, of course, includes men's lacrosse and the current #1 team in the nation in the NAIA. You heard me, numero uno in the entire United States, the women's lacrosse team here at Lawrence Tech. I say here because this very studio is located on the campus of Lawrence Tech. You can recruit yourself to this outstanding institution of higher learning. Simply visit l2athletics.com. Okay, every week on the program, I will bring you recaps from games covered here on the network, and it will include some girls coverage. Then, Sean and Greg will do deep dives on various subjects each and every week. This week, the guys will pontificate on the growth of the game for both boys and girls, as well as the first top 10 rankings, and preview some hot matchups you need to pay attention to. We've got some game highlights on the network right now in which you can check out, but without any further ado, here's Sean Baligian and Greg Durham. Take it away, boys.
Well, thank you as always to our pal Lauren Plant, and we are back at it. Who is we? Well, I'm Sean Baligian, and it is a pleasure once again to be joined by the head coach at Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Let's welcome him in, Coach Greg Durham. Coach, thanks so much for agreeing to do this again this year and helping us spread the word on one of the best sports there is.
Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it. Pretty exciting. Season's already getting rolling, and ready to talk some lacrosse once again. The funny thing is, a lot of teams haven't even had their first game yet, so it's going to be interesting this week. A lot of teams were on spring break last week. The Clarkstons, the Lake Orions of the world, they haven't played a game yet, and they'll be playing their first games this week, which would be pretty exciting. So
that's exactly where I wanted to start with you. No, it's funny you say that, because that's exactly where I wanted to start with you. I mean, some teams, your team, Orchard Lake Orchard Lake St. Mary's has already played 3 games and had a game canceled. Some teams have had 4 games already. Is there an advantage, disadvantage there? I mean, if you're one of those teams that hasn't played yet, are you sitting back going, these guys got the head start? How does that work out?
I think, the monkey on the back for all lacrosse programs, for any high school sport in the spring, is spring break. So to get that out of the way, I think that's an advantage. I think they're going to be all right because they're not going to have any more pauses the rest of their season. For me, and for like Catholic League, we stop on the 12th, and then I don't have a game until the 22nd. So that's a big lull, 10 days between games. But I think overall, we're used to it by now. All the boys understand how it works. We kind of understand that after spring break is where we start hitting our stride, where we're getting back together and we're seeing each other all the time. And I think that's where it's at. But most of us play games on spring break anyhow. Like I said, I give the guys 6 days. They get to go do what they got to do in 6 days. And then we're back on the practice field that Tuesday, the 19th, we go back at it. So it's just one of those things that it depends on what district you're in, what school you're in, what region is, because I think the west side of the state has spring break this week. So I was looking at games and I'm like, Forest Hill Central's not playing, East Grand Rapids isn't playing, Rockford's not playing. So, there's got to be some that's because of spring break. So, but that's a normal, and that's what's nice is it's normalcy back. We have back to normal here. We're having, normal dialogue. Like, we're worried about spring break. Not worried about COVID testing or double masking or any of the new rules or the rules that we had to deal with last year for COVID. But I think we're in a better place this year. Definitely.
He, of course, is Coach Greg Durham, the head coach at Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Once again, it's Face Off here, the inaugural show in 2022. Coach, one of the things that we talked about a lot last year, and I think it bears repeating, and it's something that we're going to talk about all throughout this season and hopefully for a few years to come, is the amazing growth of this great game. On the west side, you mentioned some of the programs, certainly some of the traditional ones, and now really everything in between the east and west. Another thing that we certainly want to be cognizant of and mention in regards to the growth of this great game of lacrosse is the female side. And it
Yeah.
is really, really picking up, Coach.
My experience has done a full circle. My first job, I mentioned this before, was I coached girls at Bloomfield Hills back in 98. I believe it started, I think 98 or 99. I can't remember the year. It's whatever. It is what it is. But my daughter now plays, and it's pretty exciting. She was a competitive gymnast for years, and she never got to do another sport. You know how that goes. And so she's no longer doing the competitive gymnastics, and she has the opportunity to play lacrosse, and she's playing at Livonia Stevenson for Livonia United for Chris Marucci. And it's great. And just seeing that game grow, and all her friends want to play now. And so it's just picking up steam. It's becoming that sport where it's exciting. The games are only an hour and a half. Practices are, every day of the week for the most part. But the skill is, if you're an athlete, you're going to pick it up pretty quick. And it's a great game. I mean, even the girls' game, I really starting to watch and enjoy it, especially at the college level, just to see how talented a lot of these girls are. But at the high school level in Michigan, we have several girls that are really, really good. You think about girls right now that I know of, the names. One, Izzy Skane from Cranbrook. She's one of the top players in the country at Northwestern. And she was up for the Twarton Award last year as a female college lacrosse player last year. She got beat out by the girl from Boston College. Off the top of my head, I can't remember her name, but it was just a huge honor to her to be in that cause. And she's from Cranbrook. I mean, that's awesome to hear that a Michigan girl is stepping up. And, the growth is great. And, I think one of the things that people are like, well, why is the west side of the state doing so much better than the east side? Like, they win all the championships or whatever. That's somewhat true, but not 100%. I think the success for the girls' side of like East Grand Rapids and Rockford is that they are really starting these girls at a young age, first grade, and growing in the community and growth of these programs is really prevalent in Grand Rapids. And it all really kind of started when I mentioned this last year about my experience with Grand Rapids lacrosse when I was in college. Was all these young professionals that went to North Carolina, Syracuse, Johns Hopkins, they're moving to Grand Rapids for jobs. There's this really good, economic system there. And when these people work for these corporations, they're going to bring their knowledge of lacrosse. They're going to give back to the community. And that's, I think, why the growth of Grand Rapids really took off, especially at the girls level too. And you see it, and it's amazing. I mean, just they're always going to be competitive over there. They're always going to have great fundamentals. And as I said that about the boys fundamentals, if you look at programs like East Grand Rapids and Forest Hill Central and Rockford, and there's some upcoming programs like Granville right now. They're playing pretty good ball from what I can tell. I haven't seen them on film or anything, but I've seen them, their scores and who they're beating. These programs are always going to be that kind of solid base. It's tough to beat Forest Hill Central. They're always there. They won a ton of state championships. Forest Hills Eastern won last year. They were on the rise. So all these little things, these pockets are just going to keep growing and growing. And that's why Grand Rapids is doing so well. But the Detroit area is still strong as ever been with both girls and boys. Boys section, obviously you got Brother Rice and CC leading the way. You got places like Heartland who have really grown, developed their programs through the years. I remember playing Heartland when I was in Northville, always kind of neck and neck. And that was part of the KLA thing. But, I think that you see this constantly keep going, and it's going to keep connecting as long as we keep these communities going with lacrosse.
Hi, I'm Laura Ramos with DMC Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine with today's Game Changers Pop Quiz. What can be used to prevent muscle cramps? A, electrolytes, B, pickle juice, C, mustard, or D, all of the above? The answer is D, all of the above. Muscle cramps are a common painful condition affecting many athletes. Studies continue to build evidence that show a lack of electrolytes is contributing to these muscle cramps, not dehydration. Electrolytes are minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. Electrolyte drinks contain the above electrolytes and can help prevent and treat muscle cramps. Drinking 2 to 3 ounces of pickle juice when you have a muscle cramp can shorten it on average about 1.5 minutes. Pickle juice contains sodium and vinegar, which are believed to be involved in shortening the muscle cramp. Eating 1 teaspoon of mustard when you get a muscle cramp can also shorten the duration instead of stretching alone. So in summary, use electrolyte drinks or water to help prevent muscle cramps. If a muscle cramp comes on suddenly and unexpectedly, then you can utilize pickle juice or mustard to help decrease the duration of that cramp.
Do you have a sports injury, or are you just looking to take your game to the next level? Then go where the pros go. DMC Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine. For immediate care, call 313-910-9328 or visit dmc.org/gamechangers.
You know, Coach, you took it upon yourself to kind of put together I guess the best way to say it, a top 10 list. Who are you looking at? I know a lot of usual suspects on there. You always know Rice is going to be good. You always know CC is going to be good. As you mentioned, I think you can't mention Forest Hill Central enough and everything they've done. But how does the top of the heap look heading into this season? This season has already started for some, of course.
Right. Well, Rice looks like a machine again. I mean, that's just the way it is. Ajay's got them in full tilt. CC's, they're just a different team. I mean, they're super athletic. They have an unbelievable face-off guy, Jack Sirik, who transferred back from Culver Hall in Maryland. It's just a good player. I think he played on like the U16 or U17 U.S. box team. He's a box player, but he's a really strong player. But their defense is strong. They have a great goalie. Obviously, they have a great face-off guy. They got some young attackmen. They have some solid midfielders. They're just – and they played tough with Rice. I think Rice beat them 14-11. But that was a really good game. And then Heartland, obviously, they had the same – they basically didn't lose too many. They still have the two attackmen that are going to dominate. But the girls is interesting. And with help from Chris Marucci, we came up with a pretty good top 10. The one conversation I said with Chris, he says, East Grand Rapids is number 1. Detroit Country Day is filthy. That was his word. He goes, they're good. Like they're good. And he goes, those two should be in the final, the D2 final. Forest Hills Northern, Eastern, he said is the best one in Division I. He says Brighton's right there. Rockford's right there, who, they're always in it. But that's where we're kind of at. And, like I said, with the girls, and we'll have more feedback from next week. But I really like the girls' game. I like where it's going. It's these girls and their sticks now, the sticks the way they're made. The shooting capabilities that these girls the leverage they can get on these shots is unbelievable. I mean, they're shooting just like the guys now, and it's pretty remarkable.
Hey, to hear the extended version of the conversation with Coach Durham, make sure you download the podcast wherever you download your favorite podcasts. It's a great product. Get out there and support it, and that's why we're here as well. Coach, I'm so glad you can do this again, and we can chat all through the season. Look forward to chatting with you again next week. For Coach Durham, my name is Sean Baligian. We'll see you next week on Face Off.
State Champs Face Off is presented by Lawrence Technological University. LTU offers over 24 varsity sports for men and women, along with several dozen world-class undergraduate programs. Athletic and academic scholarships are available in all sports. Visit ltuathletics.com and recruit yourself. Face Off is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Detroit Medical Center Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine Pros. Do you have a sports injury, or are you just looking to take your game to the next level? Go where the pros go. Visit dmc.org/gamechangers. Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Male and Female Athlete of the Year Awards. Stay tuned for the announcement of this year's 12 nominees coming soon. Who will be this year's Male and Female Athletes of the Year? Find out live Monday, June 6th, only on the State Champs Michigan Network. U.S. Navy Recruiting Michigan. Call 313-315-2600 2560 and talk to a local officer to find out how the Navy can take you anywhere from the sea to the stars. Oakland School's technical campuses are designed for any student who wants to graduate high school with industry certifications, on-the-job experiences, business connections, and college credits. Check them out at ostconline.com.